Choosing your college major can be one of the most difficult and stressful decisions you make after high school, and it doesn't help that there's so much pressure on us to actually choose the right major. Most of us don't even know what we want to do, which is why a lot of people end up regretting their decision after they graduate. 1 in 5 college graduates don't even work a job that requires a college degree, and we all know college ain't cheap. So you really need to make sure the time and money you're spending on that degree is worth it. Today, I'll give you the tips I used that helped me find a really amazing college major, and I'll go over the top 10 most regretted college majors. Number 1 is actually regretted by over 40% of people who take it, and it's really common, so be sure to watch until the very end. Hey everybody, my name is Hisham Khan and welcome to Income Over Outcome, where I give you college, career, and of course, personal finance tips. There's this huge debate over if college is really worth it. After all, so many people are drowning in student loan debt, and it only seems that it's getting harder and harder to get a job with only a bachelor's degree. The internet is full of these millionaire gurus saying that college is a scam, but the fact is that people with a bachelor's degree earn an average of 84% more than people with just a high school diploma. Now, college doesn't guarantee your chances of success. Nothing does, but it does definitely improve your odds. Unless you know exactly what you want to do and you've written out a solid plan, college is probably worth it for you. But you need to be very careful with what you choose to study in school, because there's a ton of majors out there that are a complete waste of time, and you would have been better off just not going to college. Now, I don't want to make it seem like your major is everything and that's what's going to decide the fate of your whole entire career, because that's definitely not true. You can be successful with any major if you put in the right amount of effort, network with the right people, and make smart decisions. But the cold hard truth is that some majors offer more valuable skills, open up way more doors, and in general, make it way easier than other majors to find a job. The issue nowadays is that there's so many majors that are oversaturated and don't give you valuable skills, which makes it really hard to actually choose the right one. My school offered things like medieval studies and golf management, and you would be surprised at how many people actually majored in those things. You best bet those people had to work way harder than I did to convince someone to hire them right out of college. Now, that's not to say that you should sell out and major in something you hate for a paycheck. It's all about finding that balance between what you like and what's practical. Where a lot of people go wrong in choosing a major is that they're not really sure of what they want to do. So they choose something that's really broad and doesn't really give them valuable skills that they can actually market. The key is finding something that's broad but still gives you the skills you need to find a job, and I'll talk more about how to do that in a little bit. Another huge mistake is being too close-minded. A lot of people think they only enjoy doing 1 or 2 things and are set in stone on one major. A good example is people who want to be doctors saying they only want to major in bio because that's the only thing they enjoy and that's what will give them the best chances to get into med school, which isn't even true in the first place. If you have tunnel vision and never open up your mind to better options that can still help you reach your long-term goals while making an informed decision for now, then that can really come to bite you in the ass. And the last mistake I see a lot of people make is not doing enough research and choosing a major only because it's common or because they know people who have also taken that major. There's a bunch of lesser known majors out there that are more valuable than all of the common ones, and they can really help you stand out. It's just a matter of putting that effort in and looking for them. You also need to be very clear with what you're actually looking for in a major. So here are some things that were on my list. Now, after putting in a lot of time into researching, I actually found a handful of majors that checked all of these boxes. The most important thing for me was to find a major that's versatile, because when I was 18, I had no idea what I wanted to do with the rest of my life, and that's totally okay. All I really knew is that I was interested in the healthcare industry, but I definitely didn't want to be a doctor. And I was also interested in business. So I was looking for majors that could get me a bunch of different types of jobs in both healthcare and business. The second most important thing I looked for in a major was how much demand there was for it. I did a bunch of research on the industries and how much they were expected to grow, or if they were actually expected to go down in the next few years and be outsourced. Number 3 is that I wanted a major that actually aligned with my interest and would allow me to have an impact in the world. But the key word here is align with my interests. It's not something that I absolutely love to do. That's because what I actually love doing is making videos. I've been doing it ever since I was 13 when I got my first laptop and camera, but I knew it would be very impractical for me to major in something like film. I chose a career path I still really enjoyed, but would allow me to live the lifestyle I really wanted. I make a good amount of money, I get to travel and basically do whatever I want with my free time. But if I went only with my passion and wasn't making any money off of it, then I would be absolutely miserable because I would probably be relying on my parents, living at home and not living the same lifestyle. And that's one thing a lot of people don't realize. You don't need to be absolutely in love with your major. Just find that balance between what you like and what's practical. I promise you, you'll be happy that way. I ended up choosing health information management, which I talked all about in one of my past videos, and I'll link it in the description. But off the top of my head, other majors that fit into these categories are things like data analysis and management information systems. Both of those majors can get you jobs in a bunch of different industries, and they're in really high demand right now. If you want, I can make a video talking about them in more detail. Just let me know in the comments. All of the majors I'm going to talk about are from a study done by ZipRecruiter, where they surveyed over 5,000 college graduates. If you want to read the whole thing, I'll link it in the description. I'll list out the bottom 5 most regretted majors first, because those weren't really that surprising to me. But I'll talk about the top 5 in greater detail. You'll probably see some trends, like most of these majors are common with people who want to go to grad school, like med school or law school, and there's good reason for that, and I'm definitely going to get into it. Coming in at number 10 is architecture, with 21% of people regretting this degree because it's not economically stable and the field is being replaced by technology. Number 9 are agriculture and natural resource majors, with 24% of people saying it's hard to find a job, and once you find a job, there's limited mobility. Taking 8th place is philosophy and religion, which is actually a tie with agriculture, as 24% of people said they regretted this major because the skills are not valued in the workplace. Now that's pretty sad. Imagine graduating with a major and realizing no one really respects your degree. At number 7, we have the visual and performing arts, with a quarter of people saying this major sucks because quote unquote it's a stressful industry with limited job opportunities. And coming in at number 6, we have ethnic studies majors, with 26% saying it's impractical with limited job opportunities. Just by looking at those majors, the trend seems to be that people chose them based on their interest and not really any other factors, which probably sounded great at the time because they got to study something they loved for a few years. But then when graduation came along, they realized they didn't really have the skills to get a job and ended up regretting their decision later on in life. This is exactly what I mean when I talk about balancing practicality with what you like. If you major in something you really like, but you can't support yourself with it, you'll end up regretting it. Alright, let's get into it. The 5th most regretted major is communications. Now this really isn't a surprise to me because communications is so oversaturated and the skills you learn with it can really be learned with any other degree. I actually think what you learn with a comm degree can be really useful, and personally I find some of the stuff really interesting. You learn all about being able to speak and write effectively and how to critically think about media. There's no doubt that these are very valuable skills, but the thing is, what you learn can really be learned from any other degree or even in an internship. There's not much to actually set yourself apart with a comm degree. I find that it's one of those majors people go into when they're not really sure what they want to do, so they end up choosing something really broad. 27% of people who major in communications said they regretted it because it was too general. To be successful with a communications degree, you really have to go above and beyond to show that you're bringing value that other people simply aren't. At number 4, we have social sciences, which are things like history, politics, and psychology. Now, in order to be successful with a social sciences undergrad, you need to go to grad school. I would say the majority of social sciences majors try to go to law school, but they don't think about the fact that over 40 to 45% of people who apply to law schools don't get into any. Obviously, if your goal is law school, failure isn't an option, but you should be prepared for the fact that you might not get in the first time you apply, so you need a backup. 29% of people regretted majoring in the social sciences, their reasons being that it was too general, impractical, and hard to find a job without further studies. And those are not my words. That's directly from the study. The great thing about law school is you can major in virtually anything you want, so you might as well choose something that can get you a solid job with only an undergrad degree. That way, if you don't get into law school your first time around, you can still fall back on a decent job and just reapply a year later, instead of struggling to find any sort of job. Number 3 is education. Now this might surprise some of you, but over 31% of people who had education majors said they regretted it because of low pay, low job satisfaction, and because of limited job opportunities. And from what my friends and family tell me, that's really true. I know someone who had to leave teaching because the time and effort she was putting in was not worth being disrespected by parents, and the pay was most definitely not worth that. Obviously, there's a bunch of different factors that go into this, like where you actually work. So you shouldn't let this deter you from being a teacher if that's what you really want to do, because we definitely need good teachers out there. But this goes into what I said earlier about not choosing a major that boxes you into one career. Consider choosing majors other than education, because you don't need an education degree to be a teacher. All you need are the right certifications and licenses. Taking second place, we have the hard sciences. And if you keep up with this channel, that shouldn't surprise you at all. Last week, I posted a whole video on why I don't like hard science majors, and I also listed really good alternatives. So feel free to check that out once this video ends. I'll link it right here and in the description. A lot of people were actually angry at me for making that video because I wasn't a hard science major, so obviously I have no idea what I'm talking about. But the fact is, the hard sciences sound like a great idea until things don't go to your plan. A whopping 35% of people who major in the hard sciences regret it, saying it's too hard to find a job unless you go to more school or have the right licenses, which is exactly what I said in my last video. Most people who major in the hard sciences intend to go to med school, but I don't think it's wise to see your undergrad degree only as a gateway to get into med school, especially considering the fact that over 50% of people who apply to med school don't get into any. If you watch my videos, you know that there's a bunch of majors out there that can get you into med school, but you can also fall back on to get a really good job if you don't get in your first time around. So why make it harder on yourself by choosing a major that limits your options? Now it's time for the one you've all been waiting for. The number 1 most regretted major is English and any language, with 42% or almost half of all people taking a language major regretting it because it's impractical with really low job opportunities. Being multilingual is definitely a plus, and it could give you the upper hand in getting a job, but only if you have all the other skills they're looking for. If you're truly passionate about a language, then study it on your own time without spending thousands of dollars on a degree. Or if you really want, you can just minor in it. Almost everyone who has written a bestseller wasn't an English major. Instead, they were just really good storytellers, and that's something you can't learn from a classroom. Let me know how you feel about the majors I talked about in this video. Were any of them what you expected? If this video gets enough likes, I'll post a video next week on the least regretted college majors. Be sure to hit that notification bell, or else you won't know next time I post, which is usually on Tuesdays and Fridays. Until next time, take care.